What's up, everybody? Coach Marty P. Hill here in Atlanta, Georgia, with our first lesson or our first session of our Backroom Boxing Podcast. So thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to talk about having the right team. If you want to get into pro boxing, you got to have the right team behind you. You can't grow a plant or a tree without having the right seeds, number one, putting it into most fertile ground, number two, and having the resources to water those seeds, put food to those seeds, nurture those seeds, and grow those seeds. And you gotta look at your boxing career or any combat sports career like you're nurturing a seed, and you gotta make sure you have the right team behind you to be able to do that. So that's probably one of the most important lessons starting off, number one, having the right team. What I mean by having the right team is that me being a coach myself that does amateur boxing as well as professional boxing, I've grown to understand and learn over the 20 years I've been in the sport that not all coaches want to deal with professional boxing. I first started off, I wasn't sure if I was going to get into pro boxing or not because there's different levels of responsibilities to each level of this game. You've got the fitness boxing level, which is a lot of gyms nowadays are only doing the fitness boxing and offering the boxing classes for folks that want to come in and pay a membership and not get hit and just do the fitness classes. Then you have the gyms that do the competitive boxing that has amateur boxers and may have some fitness classes going on as well. And then a lot of our old school gyms that are just basically fight gyms, we don't have a lot of those anymore like we used to because, real estate and leasing and having a building costs money. And as you'll learn in some of our other lessons, pro boxing is an expensive sport to be able to maintain and to get within. So a lot of gyms, those old school gyms, aren't around as much as they used to be. So you've got those gyms, which means you've got different levels of coaches that specialize in different things. And with that being said, that's usually where your team starts with, which is the person that's navigating and helping you in the gym on a daily basis, which number one, first team member is your coach. And you got to have a conversation with your coach when you come into the sport to make sure, hey, whomever your coach is, what level do you see yourself really specializing in, enjoy being in, and where do you see yourself going? Because you have a lot of coaches that are great, phenomenal, tremendous amateur coaches. They've developed local national champions, junior champions, Golden Glove champions, Olympians, but they have nothing or want to do nothing with professional boxing. Nothing with it. And there's nothing wrong with that because as most of those coaches will tell you, it's two completely different things. One's an amateur sport and one's a pro sport. Big major difference is the financing and the cost and the time that goes into both. So you want to have a conversation with your number one team member, which is your coach, which is saying, hey, look, when I get to a certain point, which is 18, and I decide that I want to be a professional boxer, are you going to be the person that's going to help me start the steering of my career? Or do you prefer just to deal with me as I'm an amateur? And if that's the case, do you have someone you could recommend me to or send me to that can take my career on from there when that time comes? Or if they're looking to still stay with you and coach you during that time, which means they're still going to be an advisor of yours, do they have individuals, promoters and managers, large or small, that they can turn you on to that will help you at least navigate that part of your career while they're navigating the instructional, teaching, training part of your career? But it's very important, boxers at home, that those of you that aspire to becoming professional boxers, that you have that conversation. I see this all the time now as I'm promoting shows. I get calls from boxers who are saying, hey man, I want to turn pro, I want to do my debut. How do I get on your card? What do you mean, how do you get on my card? Have you not been educated and talked to about from your own coach how to work with the local promoter like myself to start getting bouts and A side and B side and all these different things? And have you talked to your coach about that? An athlete will tell me no, because I've tried and my coach either doesn't know anything or that's not what they want to specialize in. And they basically said, hey, look, if you want to go the pro route, you're going to need to go find somebody that can help you with that because I can't. Wow. So you mean to tell me this person may have been with you for XYZ amount of years, from the time that you might have been 6 all the way up to 18 possibly, and you're just now finding out that your coach doesn't know anything or doesn't want to know anything or just doesn't want to have anything to do with professional boxing, and now you got to kind of start all over into a whole nother realm just like you did when you were 6 years old, starting off as an amateur. Think about that. It does happen. So again, if you're in that kind of a gray area now between turning pro and staying amateur, start having that conversation with your coach, because usually that's the first person that you have the most contact with on a daily basis. Obviously, your boxers are in the gym with you. You're in the gym with your coach 2 or 3 hours a day. That's the person that you're going to spend the most time with. That's the person that you probably trust the most. So that's going to be your first advisor, okay? Team partner number 2, and actually 1A, is your family. Now, when I say family, meaning making sure that when you decide to go from amateur boxing to pro boxing, that your family, your immediate family, mother, father, significant other, that they are all on board. Because now, as much as we would like to think that you can do pro boxing part-time, as I shot and said in my intro video, the major differences between an A side and a B side fighter aren't that big. But one of the major components that is a super separation, it's the ability and the time to dedicate to being a professional. A side fighter can dedicate all their time, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, to their new profession, which is boxing. B, C, D fighters usually are working full-time jobs. They got other things that they're doing, and they can't dedicate that full time to the sport the way they would like to be able to. So you got to be able to talk with your family members to make sure that they can help you with your finances, your living situation, and more so than not, the moral support that it requires to be there for you and encouraging you in that goal. So that's usually 1A. Okay, 1A, family, wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, are they going to be there to support you? Coach, to be able to advise you, lead you, navigate you. Your third tier now gets into, you got your parent support, you got your family support, you got your coaches helping advise and leading you and educating you on what the next level looks like. Then you can look at a manager. Now, I would tell any young and up-and-coming fighter, as I'm experiencing this myself with moving my own fighters, you can manage your own careers. I truly can. You don't necessarily need to go and sign with a management company or sign with an individual who is becoming a manager or trying to become a manager, who's trying to learn the business themselves while you're trying to navigate the business. Understand that also. So you can actually manage yourself. A manager is really to do 2 things. Hopefully find you some financial backing or be your financial backing. That's the most important thing that you need to be starting the process of moving in amateur boxing. It's finances. 100% finances, and then there are the relationships. You see how I said that? Finances first, then relationships. Because if you have the finances, you'll gain the relationships. Okay? Because you got to understand how to navigate that process on getting onto shows and so on and so forth. And we'll talk about that in the future. So you got to have those people that have those 2 things. If a manager cannot help you find finances or is not willing to help finance you, and they don't have the relationships, you do not need to hire that person as a manager. You don't need your cousin. You don't need your uncle. You don't need the rap guy down the street. You don't need the local neighborhood pharmaceutical person who decides that they want to get into your career and be a manager and they know nothing about the sport of boxing, or more so than not, they have no financial resources to help contribute to your growth of movement in the sport of boxing. Because if there's no finances, there's no movement unless you're signed to one of the top rank PBC, Golden Boy, and I can name all the companies you're already aware of. So always keep that in mind. If you identify a manager, they need to be able to have financial resources and the relationships to be able to get you started, get you moving, and to get you on local cards to help build your career. All right? The most important part of that team is a financier. As you just heard me mention before, you need to have a manager that can either help you ascertain finances or can be your financial backer. Once you get your federal professional boxing license or state and local license, you are now a small business. You're a 1099 contract employee. And you have to now look at yourself as a full-fledged entrepreneur. Just like selling t-shirts or hats or sneakers, you're in that same exact realm. You are now your own business. And just like any startup business, it takes money to make money. Whether you're getting money from the bank, our credit union, a line of credit, a small business loan, whatever you need to do, loan from friends, loan from family members, home equity. If you've got a full-time job, a part-time job that you can use that money to put back into your business, then that's what you need to do. If you can't find finances or don't have finances in this business, it's going to be a tough road for you to hoe unless you are a tier 1 prospect who signed with a very large management or promotional company. And that's the most important thing that they're doing. They're pumping finances into that person and moving them up the scale. That's what you have to be able to have. So while you're navigating this process, your friends, your coach, your manager, yourself, you need to be able to figure out who's going to be the financier person here. Are you going to be financing your own career with a loan, or your own hard work and effort that you've done, acquired finances or monies from other companies or businesses you work for? Will you be able to find a private investor or an angel investor that's willing to invest in your career? All these things need to be found out before you or while you're beginning to turn pro, because those are going to be the elements that are going to help you move your career. Your coach, your family, management, and finances. Those 4 factors solidified, then you can cross into the realm of talking with someone like myself who's a promoter. Because when I answer the phone or talk with you about getting on one of my cards or fighting for me on a show, those are going to be the things I'm going to ask you. Who's advising you on which opponents to pick? Who's going to be financially taking care of your financial responsibilities for getting on this card? Are your friends and family going to come out and support you and buy tickets? What's your long-term plan and what's your growth? Where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years? Those are questions I'm going to have for you if I decide to invest in putting you on a show that I might have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 that I'm personally investing my own money in. How do you help me net a return on what I'm investing in? And then why would I want to sign you to a 2 to 3 year or 3 to 4 fight contract to continue to put you on my same shows over and over and over again? So you want my business to be in order as a promoter, but if your business is not in order as the boxer, then why should I work with you? So keep those things in mind. Next episode, we'll talk about the licensing and how to get started through your local commissions. But before you even cross that bridge, you got to make sure that all those things are in place, because you can't win any games of life if you don't have a good team. So I hope that helps you guys out a lot. You got any questions, post them on the Facebook or on the YouTube or our forums. I'll try to get back to you. But like I said, today's our first show, and I hope you like it. I hope you get something from it. Please give us your feedback. We're new to this. And like I said, we're going to hopefully grow as you guys grow with us. Coach Marty P. Hill here in Atlanta, Georgia. And this, again, is the Backroom of Boxing, Backroom Business of Boxing episode, Season 1. Thanks for watching.